Hello, I'm xDarkSpotz. Today I will be running Tomb Raider Legend. We're going to be doing it glitchless. This game is pretty short, even for the glitchless category, but it is pretty fun and has a lot of like neat tricks and skips. So yeah, I will be doing most of the playing, but like already was mentioned, I also have a commentator who will probably like to introduce himself.
Hello everyone, I'm Dragon. I play these games sometimes as well. Wait, you said you're gonna be doing most of the playing, right? Does that mean I have to join in on it as well? How's this gonna work?
Yeah, I mean, you remember how we talked about parsec and stuff? I guess that's
Yeah,
gonna
for
be a go
sure.
then.
100%. We are
Yep.
prepared. Don't worry, everyone.
Yep. But yeah, I guess we can start then.
Oh yeah,
So,
hashtag not sponsored by Parsec.
yep.
Parsec is amazing.
It really is. It really is.
Yes. So time starts when I skip the cutscene.
Is when to start the timer and let's get this thing on the road.
Yep. So one thing to mention before I start, I place my mouse in a specific spot, so we can do like fast cutscene skips. So like the text that you see, like skip cinematic and options and return to game and stuff like that, it like slides from the right to the left when you press pause button. And like if you're fast enough, then you can like basically just immediately after pressing pause, you can skip the cutscene. You'll see it in action in a bit. But yeah,
What you're saying is you need to place your mouse on the dark spot.
yes, exactly. Puns. Anyway, yeah. 3, 2, 1, and go.
I've been looking for certain artifacts.
Alright, so like xDarkSpotz has mentioned already, this game is pretty short, and by pretty short we mean in the glitchless category, this is actually the fastest game out of Trilogy, and well, Anniversary is not even close. Underworld is a bit close, it is also quite a short game, but this game is just something else. Like, you can skip so much, you'll see it. Already we skipped the boulder, and it's not that big of a skip, but this one is a bit bigger using the vine. This skips a little bit of traveling around in that little cave thingy going on, and also there would be a flyby cutscene that is unskippable. So we just basically don't have to sit through any of that. A little neat thing, it's kind of like a micromanagement in this game, is whenever you are using a swinging bar, in Anniversary you can just spam to your heart's content and Lara will jump as soon as possible from the swinging bar. But in this game, you actually have to, when you jump on a swinging bar, you have to wait for Lara to swing once completely, and then on the next swing, the game lets you jump. But if you're jumping from swinging bar to swinging bar, on the second one, you can time it so that she jumps pretty much with the same timing as in Anniversary, but it has to be timed pretty well. That's like a little micromanagement. And here we also had a little bit of a workaround, just, you know, cutting some corners, skipping a little bit of platforming, not a whole lot, but it's something.
Yep. Supposed to be like combat and stuff here, but we'll just run through it, like pay attention.
Yeah, a lot of the combat in this game is not really necessary. I mean, all you get from the enemies is ammo and potentially some health. So really all you would need it for is getting a health pack if you really need it. There are some cases, of course, like for example at the very end of this level, where there is a forced fight that is required for you to access a level end cutscene. But aside from those ones, you can pretty much just ignore every single enemy in the game.
Yep. In the future, we do have to kill some enemies. We need some grenades, and we'll also be picking up a shotgun, which will be very useful. But yeah,
we will get to those in time. Those are going to be relevant. The grenades are going to be relevant in the next level, and then the shotgun is going to be relevant from the 3rd level onwards, basically. We will be using them. Well, the grenades we're going to be using for a skip, as well as fighting 2 bosses. They deal a surprising amount of damage. If you haven't seen a speedrun of this game, they deal tons of damage to human bosses specifically, which there are 2 of. And then we're going to be using the shotgun for pretty much the exact same thing. There's no skips that are tied to having like a secondary weapon, so from this perspective, the grenades are doing more work, but we will need them for the bosses because, well, it's more DPS than the guns for sure.
Yep.
We have a $90 donation from Fritz Jefferson saying, "Let's go DarkSpotz. Good luck with the run. Really looking forward to the other games of the trilogy." Thank you so much for the donation.
Yeah, thank you for the good luck as well.
Thank you. And in the meantime, DarkSpotz got a little bit of a skip here as well. So normally you're supposed to use 3 crates to push down all of these pressure plates. But as it turns out, if you're using Lara's weight instead of 2 boxes on that thingy over there, you can just skip having to do anything with that 3rd crate, and you can just solve the whole puzzle with 2 crates and yourself.
Yep.
And now we're going to be heading to a QTE. He's going to be doing another tiny shortcut here with the swan dive onto the slope, which he can jump off of. And this, fun fact, is not possible if you're playing with VSync off, because VSync off uncaps your frame rate, and when you have a lot of frames per second, slopes don't really work as you might think. If you swan dive onto a slope when you have a ton of FPS, you are just going to get basically teleported down a couple meters. And for something like this, that would just not work. You would fall down and there's no skip. But yeah, for this reason and for some other reasons, which we'll get to later, we are playing on VSync on. And if for some reason you feel like VSync on is just not really, like something feels wrong with it, because for some people it can feel like there's a lot of input delay. Even though I'm not sure how many there is technically, like how many frames of input delay. You can alternatively, you can just use frame rate limiter and just limit your frame rate to like 60 frames. And then here we have that fight that I was mentioning. Here you just basically have to fight everyone, otherwise you don't get the end level cutscene.
Yep. Also nice graphical glitches.
Yeah, this is it happens. I don't know the reasoning. As far as I know, nobody knows the reasoning, but it's there.
Yep.
It's not all the time, but yeah.
Yep. You wanna explain the infamous barrel skip?
Yeah, so there's somewhat recently there was a skip found here. You saw DarkSpotz running past some barrels, And you can use those if you wish, like, let's say if you think of yourself as a masochist, you can use it. You can basically you can use a barrel because you can interact with barrels in this game, believe it or not. You can kick them around. And they have very janky physics, which is where the inconsistency comes in. But you can kick them into a corner where the roof of a house is pretty low. And if you get it at just the right spot, you can jump on the barrel, and from there, you can jump onto the roof, and you can skip this entire intersection here. And it saves, like, I want to say 20, maybe 30 seconds, depending on how well you do it, and depending on how well you would do this fight that xDarkSpotz just finished. But the nice thing about not doing the barrel skip, aside from, you know, not relying on an inconsistent strat, is you actually get 3 grenades from that building that we had to go into. And that's going to come into play after the flashback, which the flashback is after this motorcycle sequence. And normally, if you use the barrel skip, you don't go into that building, so you don't have access to those grenades. So what you do instead is you go around and you try to get grenades from enemies. And it's a lot more inconvenient. It's not necessarily like hard or anything, but it is definitely inconvenient. Whereas in the alternative, when you don't do barrel strat, you just have the grenades in front of you, pick them up, and you're ready to go. Also, can we get some like Pepe jams or something in the chat? Like, I think the music in this game is pretty good, especially in the motorbike segments.
Yep. So yeah, motorbike segment, not really much to say about this. It's yeah, as you can see, like sometimes the enemies like crash into you or into each other. Does save time. You can lose some time here. So yeah, like this whole motorbike section, it's basically like an infinite loop, and there's a set amount of enemies that you have to kill, and as soon as like a set amount of enemies are killed, the next part spawns in.
Yeah, so basically, go ahead.
Yeah, so you know, doing it as fast as possible is pretty much the key here. But there's also some RNG regarding some barrels that spawn. But yeah, can continue.
Yeah, so I was going to say that the game keeps repeating a set amount of pre-existing tiles as long as you don't kill the enemies, and depending on how close to the end of a tile you killed the enemies, you might get an extra tile, which you have to completely go through before you proceed to the next section, so that can be annoying. And there you saw xDarkSpotz actually got an explosive barrel that just killed like an entire wave of enemies. This is what you want. This is good RNG. Whether or not some of these barrels spawn is actually RNG as far as we know. And well, you saw how effective they are. I mean, they pretty much instantly wipe an entire wave of enemies, and it just saves so much time, and it's so much more convenient than having to rely on the enemies either crashing into each other or crashing into you, or just manually having to shoot them down. But this is already the end of the first motorbike section, and now we're going to be heading into the flashback sequence, where we're going to be playing as young Lara, and we will not have any guns or grenades or grapple, but instead we do have flares. However, in the glitchless category, they are not really used for too much besides speeding up the movement a little bit, because when you are holding out a flare or guns or a grenade, you can actually cut the rolling animation in half, which actually speeds your movement up.
You're such a tourist.
But if you're not holding anything, then you cannot do this. So this is pretty much the only purpose we use flares for in Glitchless.
What's happened?
And of course, if you're counting it, it also helps you see, which is the intended feature for it.
The game here has been like bright enough, so I never had any trouble.
God.
So really no use for flares, I guess. Just more of a role-play item kind of thing, I guess.
Maybe. Also, it's like aesthetics, right? I think they do look cool.
Yeah,
Amanda?
I agree.
Amanda! It's her!
Wait! Ken!
So yeah, here we have a chase sequence coming up. I have to control Lara, but the point of view is from the really difficult. But after that, we have to push like a boulder in a correct way. So hopefully it goes well. But if it doesn't, then yeah, that might cost me some time.
Yeah, and that is actually getting up and pushing the boulder onto the pressure plate in a way that it stays there on the first try actually is kind of a skip, because if you manually roll the boulder, like the ball there, you would get like this cutscene of sorts with Amanda, and she's running by. We're going to see it actually, kind of, for a moment. And the game kind of forces the camera to steer that way for a second, but you can force yourself out of it. And yeah, if you get the ball first try on the pressure plate, then this doesn't happen. And of course, you also save the extra amount of time it takes for you to get down there for the boulder to move onto the pressure plates.
So, how you getting
Yep.
And that's flashback done.
If you get a call from Anaya, patch her through straight away.
Yeah, now we have a
I'm
little
little
bit of a
concerned
swinging
about
section.
I'll keep her company.
Yeah, not much going on in the swimming section.
Yeah, it's a pretty boring, pretty laid back section. But
Something
after that,
to mention, actually, still in the flashback, is you saw that final pit of spikes at the end. You can actually jump over that without using the bar on top, but it is really difficult to do consistently. It is a very tight jump, so a lot of people don't do it. I mean, if you think about it, if you're not like 90% consistent or 100% consistent, it's not really worth it, because you lose a ton of time, whereas if you get it, you only save like, what, 3 seconds maybe?
I'm
Yeah.
consistent in like 0 of my runs, so
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't do it.
King Arthur?
Yeah, it's really not worth it if you... It's like I myself am not consistent at it, so I don't do it really.
Yeah, same. But now we have a pretty cool skip coming up.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger skips for 2 reasons. So this skips an entire QTE, which not only do you skip having to watch it, but it also makes it so that these platforms that you saw in front of you don't actually fall down. Now, these would fall down during the QTE if you play it through, but if you skip the QTE, they stay there, and most of them do have collision, which means that when you complete this puzzle here, and you have to backtrack to the surface, you are not going to have to use the upper section of this area to backtrack. You can just simply use these platforms, and it's so much faster.
I know it impresses me.
That probably won't work. Yep, that was very weird. I accidentally messed it up, but it should be alright. Yes, I still got it.
Nice. So this is another plus of not doing the barrel strat that we mentioned earlier, because normally if you do the barrel strat, ideally, even though you're running by a bunch of enemies, you normally only kill one just to get this one grenade.
So the shaman would be
And technically you only need one grenade to get this trick here. But if you do mess it up, then you have these 2 additional backup grenades if you take the other route. So I think that's another reason
I wasn't keeping track of Anaya.
that makes not doing the barrel strat more convenient.
It's alright. Just let me know if our mercenary friend's getting closer
Yep.
to her.
And now we can just backtrack pretty easily.
I suppose I'll have to take the high road back.
Because,
Yeah.
there's still a floor remaining there.
Yeah, so normally you would have to climb upwards and there would be a lot of shimmying around and some rope swinging involved. But instead we just do like 3 jumps and that's the whole thing. So it's so much faster.
Yeah.
Here DarkSpotz is gonna take care of these enemies because in this game, actually, there are these, I'm not sure what to call them, I guess you could just call them like these special attacks that the human enemies have, where you can see that they aim at Lara with like a laser pointer, and when they do that and they shoot you, it's going to be a guaranteed stun. And what this does is if you're climbing, you're going to just instantly fall down. So there is a risky strat down there to just go for the rope immediately, climb up, and be on your way. But if you get unlucky, they do this special attack and then you get stunned and you fall back down and, well, time loss happens and you cry.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, this also is a similar fight to Bolivia.
Yeah, so
With
the
the
developers loved the end fight of Bolivia so much, they basically just were like, guys, this is so good, let's do it again.
Someone's coming.
Now, an interesting thing to mention here is for this final enemy, you can actually get up next to him in the glitched categories using a left roll zip, which just basically teleports you up there and you can just shoot him from up close, and it's a bit faster, but obviously it's considered a glitch, so can't do it in Glitchless. But that is Peru done, and we're moving on to Japan, where we're gonna have our first boss battle at the end. And already
Ever predictable.
we're gonna have
Good evening. I believe Nishimura-san.
we're gonna see DarkSpotz abusing grenades and a shotgun, and also the grapple, which is actually specific to this one boss. Now, what you can do with the grapple against this boss is if you're aiming at him and you press grapple, he actually gets stunned by your grapple for a second. And you can basically infinitely stun him if you time your grapples right, and you can just keep chucking grenades at him in the meantime, and sometimes even fit in a shotgun shot or 2.
Nishimura gave me the pass to
And that speeds up the boss fight so much, and also helps with keeping him close, because normally the boss is trying to run away from you at all times. But if you get him stuck by stun locking him with a grapple, it's just so much easier. And the reason why I'm saying this is for this boss specifically is because, fun fact, if you try to grapple Rutland, who is the boss of the next level, he actually grabs your grapple and pulls it, and that stuns you. So they thought of this and made him a bit more smart, which is kind of interesting to me.
Let's see if I still remember the inputs.
Does Takamoto glitch over here as well, where sometimes he's just in the air for no reason?
Yeah.
I think I heard somebody saying that it depends, like it's related to VSync or something, but I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe.
It's FPS related,
Not
I
on that bike, I
think. Or maybe not actually. I remember Rhino telling me something about that, but I can't remember. Maybe if he is in the chat, he knows.
I feel like when I did glitched runs, it was like almost 50-50 whether he would be nice or not, and just let me kill him.
Yeah, for me, it was like this classic phenomena of it never happened to me until I heard about it. Then I heard about it, I saw it, I was like, what is this? And then it happened to me like 3 times in a row.
Oh. Oh, what? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess the motion of the I have no idea what this is.
It's just
It
Lara being
happens.
Lara.
Yep, it just happens.
happens.
Boom, skip.
I think in a couple of the games, her little model doesn't do very well with moving objects.
Yeah.
And like I said before during Bolivia, you can ignore so many enemies in this game. Like those ones as well, you don't have to do anything with them. What were you gonna say, xDarkSpotz?
Yeah, I was gonna say, the next section is also pretty enemy heavy, but yeah, we just run past them.
Yeah, the annoying thing in this section is you saw a guy with a shotgun there, and the enemies with shotguns also stun you when they shoot you, which means that if you get unlucky, they prevent you from jumping up to that whatever that screen is. Is it like a television or like a monitor, like a huge monitor, I guess?
Yeah, I guess it's yeah, let's just say like huge TV screen or something.
Yeah, so that's pretty annoying when that happens. But normally, like, if you're not like super unlucky, you can just like roll past them or maybe roll into them and then jump, because this is another interesting thing that some people might not know, is if you're rolling without holding out any weapons in this game, you can roll into human enemies mostly, and I think it works on the dogs as well. You will just kind of... It's a really silly animation. They just fly into the air. Or if they are directly next to a wall, they just like splat on the wall and just kind of slide down like a Looney Tunes fashion.
Yes. So now we are up at the top. I'm gonna ditch my assault rifle and get a shotgun. I can find it. Oh, it's over here. Also grab these grenades. And yeah, there's gonna be some enemies I'm gonna encounter now that I have to kill in order to progress. And yeah, then it's the boss fight.
Yeah, so throwing a grenade at that glass is not very intended, as I'm sure some of you might have guessed. You're supposed to grapple that statue and pull it, and then the momentum it carries breaks the glass. But alternatively, you can just chuck a grenade at it, apparently.
Yep.
Now this does have to be fully charged, or at least charged enough, because if you just try to like half charge it and then throw it, it's not gonna break it. Also, I've seen some occasion where if you're aiming it like in a different way, sometimes the grenade just goes straight through the window for some reason, but more often than not it does work. And there you saw a perfect example of what I was describing with this boss. The infinite stun lock with the grapple, with the constant grenade tossing, and then some shotgun shooting in the meantime. It's just annihilates the boss's health. But if you thought that was a fast boss fight, well, you're in for a doozy after this level, because at the end of this one, well, let's just say if you blink, then you will miss the boss fight for sure.
Yep.
But first, we do have to get through this level, but not exactly the intended way. So Ghana is actually one of the fastest levels, if not the fastest, in this speedrun, because as it turns out, if you make a really precise jump that has also some luck involved, you can just completely skip like 2/3 of the level. And I am serious when I say 2/3.
Yes.
You cut off like 60 or 70% of the level just by doing this. And the reason why I'm saying there's a little bit of luck involved is because, believe it or not, on a lot of platforms, this mechanic that is supposed to happen every time you run off of a ledge just kind of doesn't trigger. Now, what is supposed to happen with most platforms in the game that have a proper edge is if you run off, Lara is supposed to automatically grab the ledge. But in the case of this part of this platform, sometimes she does not grab it and just falls off. Now, when this happens, you actually fall off of the platform a little bit earlier than normal. And for this jump specifically, you need to jump as late as absolutely possible. And you cannot do this if Lara slides down like a second earlier. Well, it's not a second, it's like a fraction of a second, but it does matter. And if you mess it up, but Lara does grab the ledge, it just means you timed your jump press too late. If you do get a jump but you don't make it, it means that you did it too early. And then if Lara just kind of like slides off without any sort of jump happening, that means you got unlucky. Now, we've seen like pretty much all the instances from xDarkSpotz right now, but I'm hoping we're gonna get it soon.
Yep. I'm gonna give it a couple of more tries.
This strat can be really rough. It's not particularly the hardest thing in the world, but it's also not easy. And it's so easy to get like let's say it with Twitch terms, mentally jebaited by the possibility of getting unlucky, that you are kind of psyching yourself out by trying to jump too early, and that's why sometimes you do it incorrectly. But we did get it just now, and that's what that looks like. And yeah, so you're supposed to go inside of this temple of sorts, and there's some traps involved, pretty long hallways, a really big puzzle that takes multiple minutes to complete, a big wave of enemies, and then some more platforming, and then like a boulder chase sequence, Indiana Jones style. And after that chase sequence, you would make it to the place that this skips brings us. So you skip all of that just with this very simple but also not so simple jump. Something to be careful about though is if you do this skip, you actually don't get a proper checkpoint until you get to the very top of the same side that the skip was on. So if you do something wrong right after the skip, you fall off of the swinging bar or you miss a ledge or something, well, you're gonna be dropped. Either, depending on what checkpoint you got, you either get spawned at the very beginning of the level, or just below the very beginning. So pretty big setback, and you have to try to go for the skip again. So I mentioned that there's an extra convenience that comes with playing with VSync on, and that is these bridges. So these bridges, as you saw, they're normally there and they're perfectly normal, but
Mm.
if the enemies throw grenades on them, they do get destroyed. And for some reason, if you're playing on high FPS, the bridges are automatically destroyed by the time you make it there. So what that does is instead you have to swing across a bunch of ropes, and in order to make sure that you can do that, you have to also most likely kill all the enemies. And like I said, blink and you miss it. There was the entire boss fight. You just chuck 4 grenades at him right as he drops off and just dies. Normally, Rutland is supposed to go back up to those 4 sections in that little arena, and he is supposed to heal up fully after you deal some damage to him. But because he gets constantly stunned by the grenades,
Wow.
he just has absolutely no chance.
Oh. I love getting laser sniped by enemies. Twice
Yeah, this is
almost now.
this is exactly what I was talking about with the special attack that they have. It's really annoying in these kinds of sections. And there's basically like almost no chance that they miss that. As soon as you see the laser sight on you, you're pretty much guaranteed to get hit by it. Now we're going to visit this little what could you call this? Like
Control tower?
yeah,
don't know,
control
like-
tower, I suppose. And this has a map for us, which indicates where Amanda's secret lab is, which is where we want to get to. And we just got the information, and now we're going to try to follow the train that goes there. But we're not going to be taking the train yet. We have to take a motorcycle because we're going to be a little bit slow to catch the train, which is dev intended, of course. There's nothing you can do about it. And so here we are with the second motorcycle section of the game, and also the final one.
Yep,
This
and
is-
also the longer one.
Yes, I was going to say this is significantly longer than the previous one. I want to say the Peru one is like, what, 3 minutes? This one is like 5, maybe more.
I think. Oh yeah, I think it's around 5 if you do it like correctly.
Yeah, and again, there's a little bit of RNG involved. Not so much with barrels, like a little bit with barrels, but they're not as useful in this one. Because even if you do get some, the placements are usually not as convenient. But enemies can still crash into each other and you. And also some parts of the environment, if they crash into, they also die. So you can get lucky in that way. And here you pretty much just trying to not crash into anything, kill all the enemies as fast as possible. Which, by the way, if you want to kill the enemies as fast as possible with the pistols, which is the only weapon you can use on the motorcycle, but of course what I meant is without relying on them crashing into something or a barrel, is if you are far from the enemies or like not too close, holding down the shoot button is not the best idea in the world. It works, but it's kind of slow because Lara misses a lot of shots. What you can do to correct this is instead you can time your shots by just pressing left click like every 1 second or so. And it just makes your shots more accurate, therefore more DPS, and you get rid of the enemies faster. Simple as that.
Yep. Yeah, so this is the, I guess, the intermission section. You just drive. There are no enemies here. Yeah, that's it. pretty boring part of the speedrun.
But at least the music's good. Can we get some more gems in the chat?
Yeah.
So here we're going to have one more combat section, which is the longer part, and also it's going to feature chiefs, which are a lot harder to kill because the enemies at the top of them are a lot harder to hit. I don't know if they have more health. I would guess that they don't really, but it's just really hard to hit them. And
Yep.
yeah, this section is definitely the longer one out of the two combat sections in this particular motorbike segment. And after this, we're going to have a little bit of a free ride into a QTE on the train.
Yep. One of the reasons like the jeeps are a bit more harder is that the cars have like the collision for them is a bit broken. So you have to be like you can't be very close to them, otherwise Lara will just like shoot at the car and not the enemy, and you know that obviously loses time.
Yeah, they are pretty hard to hit. Also, if you get dangerously close to the cars, depending on, you know, the terrain where you are, they might just like randomly speed into you, and then you get flung into the air, and if that results in you hitting something and you're going at full momentum, well, GG, you have to start from the previous checkpoint because you're most likely going to die from that collision, from the impact.
Yeah, these motorbike sections on hard difficulty are a literal nightmare.
Oh, they're absolutely brutal. The enemies do so much damage, and then the med packs are not exactly everywhere.
Yeah,
And well, you cannot really do anything to avoid the enemy's line of fire either. So it's just absolutely brutal. You need to pick up like every single med pack from my experience, and then maybe you will make it.
Yes, pretty sure I've like reverted my difficulty from hard to medium when I was playing casually because I just couldn't beat it. It's just yeah, super hard enemies.
Yeah. Funnily enough, we actually did an IL race with xDarkSpotz. xDarkSpotz and I did this IL race for Peru. And let me tell you, we did it on hard difficulty, and well, it was a pretty painful ride. Let's just put it that way.
Did you
Yeah.
guys put a timer on to see how long it took?
It took quite a while, but I don't remember the final time that we got for the IL, unfortunately.
Yes, but yeah, we died multiple times during that Peru motorbike section, and if you're like really low on health, like at the end, you have to like drive on the back of a truck. But like no matter how slow you go, for some reason, Laura like gets damaged there. So what could happen is like you drive onto the back of the truck, and then just a loading screen happens and you like spawn back on the bike,
feel like I just lived through a train wreck.
because you just died.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, you're like,
It's,
yay, I
It's
finally
already
completed the section. Here we go, cutscene time, and then you just hear like a bonk sound, and you just reload from the previous checkpoint, and you're like, really?
Yep.
One way or another.
This game is janky.
Also, a little bit of a skip just happened. We skipped some platforming around the place by lighting ourselves on fire because, you know, as you do. So it turns out that on the easy difficulty,
It's getting colder.
things don't deal a whole lot of damage, and that includes continuous damage sources as well, just like fire and poison gases and whatnot.
He's been
Eventually,
trying
they
to
do deal quite a bit of damage, but you know, initially, if you jump into it, it's pretty manageable for like a second or two. And that lets us basically jump on top of the train and do a little bit of a corner cut. And something to mention is it's not only tied to difficulty. These continuous damage sources are frame rate dependent as well. So once again, if you have VSync off and you're playing on like pretty high FPS, well, it's almost instant how it kills you. Your health gets drained so fast you don't even see it and you're dead.
Look at the lights.
Yeah, if you're on hard difficulty and have like a couple hundred frames, then it's insta death.
You dip your toes into it and boom, you're gone. Another difference here compared to glitch categories is you saw this door in front of DarkSpotz that we're going to try to unlock by turning the power on in the whole area. Well, if you're playing a glitch category, you actually don't have to turn the power on, because all you do is you back handspring into the door and part of Lara's collision clips through and the game thinks you're on the other side and it gives you the next checkpoint. And giving you the next checkpoint, the game assumes, well, if you made it here, you must have turned the power on. So it turns the power on and opens the door.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty funny skip, I think. You can do this kind of thing in multiple areas. You can access cutscenes faster this way. And like in this instance, you can also open the door faster.
Yeah.
Also, pretty big skip coming up again. And once again, absolutely no glitches required. You just jump over this railing and you just make a slightly delayed jump for that platform and get to the other side, and congratulations, you just skipped like half of this inner section of the level. Saves so much time, because doing this intended, you would have to go to a different area where you have to do some platforming. You cannot skip. And you also have to drag this like source of power, like this box that has like carries a bunch of electricity with itself. You have to drag it around, and it's very monotonous.
Yeah, I actually like that part a lot. Like, seems pretty interesting, but you know, since I don't play it casually, I really never get to do it. It's fun.
It is interesting.
Around.
It is interesting. It's a cool looking thing, and it's a nice concept. But in terms of time, well, it takes a while, so being able to skip it saves a lot. And here, some people who play this game for the first time might think that you actually have to fight this creature, but you actually don't.
I can definitely say that I spent way too long trying to kill him when I first played the game casually.
Well, I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but you can actually, if you... I think you can do this if you're playing New Game Plus and you have Excalibur with you, but maybe you need to cheat it in, I'm not sure. You can actually kill it if you do have Excalibur, but it doesn't do anything, so you can try to get your revenge on it if you feel.
Yeah, it has like a lot of health. I think yeah, one of the legend speedrunners, I think it was Sir Red, he did a video on it. He managed to like kill the monster, but it takes like so much time because it just has so much health.
Yeah, definitely. Not really intended to kill it.
Yep.
Instead, you're supposed to do that puzzle that we saw, which is pretty simple as far as how you like what you do in order to complete it, but you might not understand the first time you try to do it what exactly is that you're supposed to be doing. And then I wonder if DarkSpotz is getting some sort of flashbacks right about now.
Oh yeah, I am. Hope that didn't
So a lot of you are not aware, but we had a race of sorts with DarkSpotz, Bob, who is another speedrunner, and me. And when we got to this point, or at least when DarkSpotz got to this point, that bridge thing that you're supposed to pull down with your own weight, let's just say it did some very magical things on DarkSpotz' end.
Yeah, just spazzed out.
Yeah, and to this day, we don't know what caused it. And I can tell you that just by watching that after the race, just by watching his perspective, I got some nightmares. It's it's actually kind of scary the way it happens, you know? Because it's so random. I've never seen anything like it in these games. It just spazzed out and flew everywhere. Like, I've never seen a platform do that in these games. Like, I don't know why it was.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think I have a clip of it anywhere, so... But yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah, so here you can actually, you saw DarkSpotz rolling down from the first platform at the very top and then catching that rope. You're not supposed to be able to do this, but because of the way the targeting system works in this game, if you aim yourself correctly and you're at the right spot, you can just roll down and she grabs the rope underneath, and that skips quite a bit of the section. And then you're going to be seeing a lot of...
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna jump in. I just realized I don't think I have enough health packs to do the next strat if I do have to use a health pack here, so just gonna take it safe.
Yeah, so... Well, this first bar of fire, I think, never disappears, actually. But what I was gonna say is you're going to be seeing some brute forcing through the fire, especially in this next area, because if you have a good amount of health and you are playing on easy difficulty and don't have a lot of FPS, like I mentioned, you can actually afford to just go through this fire and not use any boxes at all.
Oh, still died. I guess I lost too much health at the blades.
Yeah. It was close, you actually almost made it, but unfortunate.
Yep, it looks like I'm gonna... Okay,
Another thing that is worth noting is you might be saying, well, if you have more than one med pack, then, you know, maybe you can just spam it and brute force your way through the fire that way. Unfortunately, there is a cooldown to using med packs. You cannot spam them. So you have to make sure that using one med pack at a time is going to be enough to get you across. Because by the time the game lets you use another med pack, you would be out of that area anyways. Because it's like a good, what, 1 to 2 seconds of a cooldown for it.
I just spam the key as fast as I can and yeah, I made it through.
Yeah, there you go.
Was pretty unlucky with the blades there.
Yeah, the blades are moving so fast, it's really hard to roll through them. Then we pretty much do this little bit here intended. Nothing unusual here.
Yeah. Yeah, literally everything forward from here is intended pretty much.
There is going to be a little bit of a trick or two on our way to the boss, and then after the boss there's going to be a smaller one as well. But for now, this is basically intended gameplay. So you get to enjoy the game for what it is, for once.
Yep. Just, yeah, making my way to the boss.
Now, unfortunately, DarkSpotz does not care about treasure hunting, so he's not going to be picking up any secrets, even though they are very close to him right now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the secrets run for this game for Glitchless is pretty cool.
It actually is.
Yeah.
But about the secrets, there is a significant difference between Anniversary and Legend. So in Anniversary, if you pick up a secret, as soon as you press interact, you can reload the checkpoint, and the game is going to save the fact that you got that secret. It already recognizes it, and it immediately saves it. In this game, you actually have to pick up the secret, wait for it to completely disappear, and then get a checkpoint, and only then will the game recognize that you got it and save it as well. If you get the secret and let's say you immediately trigger a checkpoint right after you got it, it actually isn't saved yet because you need to wait for it to completely disappear, then trigger a checkpoint, which actually has a significance in one place in Nepal and maybe in one or two others. So you need to watch out for that if you're running a secrets category, or if you're just trying to pick up secrets, by just playing the game normally.
Yeah, I think that explains my casual playthrough where I was like, I could have sworn I got all the secrets, and nope.
Yeah, it definitely happened to me in runs too. You need to watch out for it. Sometimes I forget about it as well. I have one more thing actually is, funnily enough, if you are playing individual levels, so if you've already completed the game or a certain level and you're going back to it through the individual level playthroughs, it actually works the same way as it does in Anniversary, which is weird. So in the individual level playthroughs, you can just click interact on a secret and immediately quit out, and it's going to recognize that you picked it up and you're done. But in the normal playthrough, you cannot do this.
So this, like the left side, the monster that I'm trying to do right now, sometimes acts very weird. Like it doesn't matter how much I shoot, like the bells and stuff. It just doesn't want to look at them.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
Like right now.
I used to think that maybe it's because you started shooting at it like while it was stuck in another animation, or that maybe by the time you would get it to pay attention to the bell, maybe by then it's stuck in another animation. But sometimes it works even then, so I'm actually not sure what causes that. But nonetheless, the boss is done. It's actually, I think this boss fight is a pretty cool concept. As far as bosses in Tomb Raider go, and in other games of this time. I think it's pretty creative.
I agree. And now we have another QT.
Because as far as I know, you actually cannot damage this serpent with any weapon. So it has to be these bells. Or rather the crates that are attached to them. And we have a little bit of a QTE again. Haven't seen them for a while. We keep bringing this up in runs, but just in case some people don't know, if you know the inputs for the QTEs, you can actually spam them in this game preemptively, and it is going to give you a correct button press. However, in Tomb Raider Anniversary, if you try to spam them, it's actually going to give you a fail even if you're pressing the correct input. You need to wait for the icon to appear and then press it in Anniversary. In Legend, you can just spam to your heart's content.
The one downside of learning Legend before Anniversary for sure.
I think I should actually...
Definitely, yeah.
I'm gonna restart checkpoint. I noticed that I didn't have much health, so I would have probably died.
It's a good idea here. Resuming the game doesn't put you very far away, basically at the same spot, so it's a good idea to do it here to replenish health.
Oh my... If I... This... Okay. That was interesting. I got knocked into the blades by the enemy.
Oh, that happened to me the last time I played this game as well. But actually very similar to you, right after I actually managed to roll through the blades, so a little bit of a deja vu for me there.
Nice.
And this little escalator is very funny with physics. So if you wait for it to get to the very top and then jump, well, you just saw it. It actually carries the momentum from the escalator into your jump, allowing you to make that big gap without having to go to the side first, like it is intended. Again, it's not that big of a skip, but it is a cool trick nonetheless, and it does save a couple seconds. And once again, you're only forced to kill these two enemies at the very end. You don't care about the rest.
We find ourselves on a mountain without climbing.
And now we're already starting
Any of that snow and ice is
the second to final
keep
level
moving before it breaks on you.
in the game.
I've done this before, you know.
I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of the last proper level, because the next level is just an arena fight into a boss fight. Not really much going on over there.
This level does have a pretty cool skip coming up. Call it plane skip.
Also, hold on, what you just saw there with the grapple is also a little bit of a trick. I'm not sure, did you discover that one?
Yep.
Back down and up.
Yeah, so it turns out that the targeter for the grapple, for that grapple spot there, extends pretty far down. So if you purposefully miss the swinging bar in front of you and spam jump, because actually if you're in the air already, pressing jump also triggers your grapple in this game if you are if the grapple targeter is on the screen. So you can do this in order to skip like a couple seconds of climbing. Again, not much, but just a cool trick. And plane skip, just barely missed. Plane skip, again, one of the biggest skips in the category. It skips some, I want to say like some maybe combat if you really want to kill the little kitty down there, but you don't have to. So it mostly just skips a tiny bit of a puzzle, if you can call it that, into a QTE. And again, QTEs are normally not skippable in this game, but with this you can bypass it.
Yes, it's a pretty hefty time save.
Also, just before that, you saw a death abuse, which also saves like quite a bit. I'm not sure exactly how much, but if I had to guess, it's at least 20 seconds.
I've got it.
I think it was like 15 or 15-ish seconds, I think, when I timed it.
15-ish, okay, so not exactly 20, but not far off. It is just basically that place, that area is full of death triggers, like everywhere. Like, you're looking around and you're like, I wonder if I can jump there, and the only reason you can't is death triggers. Like, they're everywhere in that area. But for some reason, if you do a gun jump from a correct spot there, you avoid the death trigger that is right under you, and then you can jump into a checkpoint that is directly under you, and that skips some platforming as well.
Oh, this is also pretty annoying part. Enemies can snipe you, and it's just hassle sometimes. Seems like, oh, nice flying battle. Seems like yeah, this went pretty well this time.
Yeah, definitely. I normally kill all the enemies on the ground level because I don't know if it's just me, but when I try to climb up, they always snipe me, and I always get stunned, and I always fall down. So I just make sure to
Quite enough of that.
remove that
Sorry.
opportunity from them.
Can you tell me the time?
You're gonna be alright.
Like
Uh,
for how long
current-
the run has?
Currently, we are
So very
1 hour, 2 minutes, and 50 seconds in.
I'll be
Okay.
fine.
Probably be overestimate by like a minute, I think maybe.
Yeah, just a minute or two. It's gonna be close though. Now here we're also going to be doing a little bit of a skip actually. So the devs made this box able to be
Every
grappled
object here has a symbolic
in order to complete the puzzle,
Brother,
I think, in the intended
one thing
way.
at a time.
However, what they didn't consider is you can just grapple it from the very top and
It's been up
using
anyway
some
sometime.
maneuvering
Now I suppose
can
it's time
get
to
it to the
work out
top
how to
instantly.
leave.
Also, I would like to give you a special shout out to that cat that just didn't make it in barely. We actually named him Mike. It was
Yes.
not me. Don't point fingers. But we do have a
Yeah.
name for him. He's Mike, and I think the person who came up with it says that if Mike makes it into that same area as you are in that cutscene, then that's bad luck.
Oh, I was gonna say, is the run blessed?
Yes, apparently, because Mike did not make it in. And now we have a final arena fight, very reminiscent of the first level. It's just basically you just have to kill all the enemies using Excalibur. It can get a little bit of annoying sometimes because the enemies sometimes do actually jump away from the shot. You know, they're not. They're smarter than you think sometimes, and the wind up and sometimes the cooldown also, or like the recovery frames of swinging Excalibur are quite long. So wasting a couple swings and not hitting any enemies is really rough for speedruns. And then we have the final boss here, who xDarkSpotz currently just did a pretty good job of stun locking him in the previous phase. There's also a bit of luck involved with this because based on, well, pure chance, the boss can just simply dodge the first attack you do no matter what. If he's already stunned and you have good timing, you can keep him stunned, but actually shooting him first can be a nightmare sometimes. Sometimes he just dodges around you for like half a minute, maybe an entire minute, and you're just not gonna hit him. And it's super annoying. Wastes a lot of time. Right at the end of the run too, which is unfortunate, but also, if you're not, if you're getting a bit greedy and dodging around, he can actually push you off of the map, which, you know, insta-death and
also time.
big time loss. And we have time. So you got a 106, which is pretty good, especially for real time.
Yeah, it's okay.
So
Yeah.
GG for the run. Think that was a pretty good showcase of what Glitchless in this game looks like.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that the Glitchless category of Tomb Raider Legend is the most fun Glitchless category out of the trilogy. It is also the shortest, so if you are looking to speedrun one of these games and you prefer to run Glitchless, or you liked some of the tricks that we've shown, then, you know, feel free to give this game a try. It's pretty fun. There is a bit of RNG involved, unfortunately, but most games have it. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's it for Legend, I guess.
Oh, one more thing. It's also pretty easy to get into, and there are some tutorials and people who are willing to help you you have any questions.
Yes. Yeah, I guess that's it. Then, if you want to maybe potentially see me play and hear Dragon commentate, then there's a race happening tomorrow.
A race?
But
How exciting!
yeah, a 4-man race in Tomb Raider Anniversary between me, Brian, Diddy, and First Guy. So the top 4 on the speedrun.com leaderboard. And yeah.
It's going to be a nice,
tomorrow.
fun, and competitive race. Expect
Yes.
some try-harding.
Yes.
You sweaty try-harding.
And it was you.
It's gonna be fun though. Definitely do make sure to tune in for that if you can.
She went where I
It's a
Yes.
very
was
cool
supposed to go,
run.
where you could have gone.
And if you
Makes
do miss
sense right
the
this
race
second,
or
or
any
I
of the
swear
runs
I'll
that you're
punch
looking
you
forward
where
to
you
seeing,
stand.
we will be posting the highlights on YouTube, and they will be available on Twitch as well after the marathon is completed.
Avalon.
So,
Not
that being
a
said,
myth.
thank you guys
Don't
so
you get
much.
it?
Just a
You'll
reminder
never
that this is
understand.
Tomb Raider Marathon, and we are raising money
I'm
for
wasting
direct
my
relief.
breath.
One of the things Direct Relief does is they have a fund for health equity, and that's to increase access to healthcare and improve health outcomes to marginalized communities. So they've worked on supporting organizations to diverse the healthcare workforce to support people from all backgrounds as they undergo certification and training to become nurses or other healthcare workers, eliminating health disparities from living environment to financial situations, that any factors that can play a role in someone's health outcomes. And they also support digital health using new technology to expand access and deliver better patient care. So they're helping a lot of organizations in those efforts to help them respond better to the needs of their community.